Alright guys, welcome back to a new video. So today's video, we're going to be creating an app on iOS that uses APIs. So we're going to be using the example of a weather app, and we're essentially just going to code the UI of a weather app using Swift UI, and then we're going to connect it to a weather API so then we can actually get the weather in real time. Finally, we're going to be deploying this app on our phone, so we can just push it to our phone, so then we can actually use it from our phone just like a regular app. This is going to be a great video, so jump right into it. Okay, so pretty much the first thing that we want to do is you just want to go in Xcode. So Xcode is what we're going to be using to actually develop this app. So basically, Xcode allows us to easily just code our app and then we can just deploy it on our phone. This is without using the App Store because I'm trying to make this tutorial like free, so you don't have to use anything. The API is also free to a certain extent. So we're not going to be deploying this on the App Store, but you can deploy from your computer to your phone. So for example, if I would just open it up, you can see this is actually the app right there, the weather app. So if I just click on it, this is the actual weather app, and it's actually working in real time. So you can see it has the API. It's getting the API, so it knows it's raining outside, which it is, and then it also knows the temperature, 12 degrees Celsius. If you want, we can change it to Fahrenheit just by getting the formula, just changing it. But by default, it just the API gets in Celsius. And then you also see we have this UI. This is just for UI, but you can actually make this useful. But it is going to require the paid API. So we're just going to be using the current weather right now. Also, we can click this change time of day button and it kind of shows like a different view. You can see it changes the background and also these change, so as if it was night. But oh yeah, so that's the weather app we're going to be creating, and you can see it's just on my phone, so I can go anywhere. I'm going to updates in real time. All right, so the first thing that we want to do, I'll send this link in the description, and you just want to click View in Mac App Store. Keep in mind you need a Mac to do this video because you just can't install Xcode on like a Windows. Um, so you just want to download it and then just click this Open button. So this is the app that you're going to get, and basically this you won't actually start off with this because you have to create one. But if I do actually go to this page, which is what you get when you just download it, you can just click create new project. Then you just want to go to iOS and just click app, and then just want to create a name. So I already actually created a default project for this, so it's just the same parameters. But I'm not going to push it because I already have an app with this name. And then make sure it's the interface is Swift UI, and then Swift will always be default for the language. And then we just want to create it in whatever directory that we have. I have this Swift projects directory in my desktop, so that's where I store my projects. But I'm not going to create it because you can see I already created this weather app 1, which is the same name, before this tutorial, which is just a new app. So I haven't actually done anything to it. And yeah, so we can just click this cancel button. But for you, you just want to click finish, right? So now next, I would just want to open my app, and it should come to a page like this. So this is the default page for everybody, and it always opens up with a weather or like a content view. It actually is a content view. I changed it to weather view just because I thought it kind of matched it. But it would be content view, and then it have like content view here. So content view, right? And then this would also be content view. I'll explain what all of these are, but I'm just trying to go to how your app would look. And then this would also be content view. Okay, and then the page names don't really matter. So let's explain this basic structure. So we have two different pages. We have a content view, weather view. I just changed the name, and then we have this weather app, and then weather app 1 and then app after it, right? So it's just the base page. So every Swift UI app has what we call like a main class. So this is just going to be calling what we call our content view. So it's just telling us where our content view is, and then it's going to run that content view. So content view is the actual UI of the app. So for example, we can just run it. This is the default, just has a hello world in there. And if we just run this, you can see that what it's displaying is the content view. This is our actual UI, right? This is our UI. That's what we just wrote. And I'll explain how to, about images, text, all that in this video. But basically in our weather app, our APIs could be on different pages, whatever, different classes, different functions, but everything is getting down and we're just pushing it into this content view. So it's almost like the main page of this app. Then here, this is just our preview. Just make sure that we also just have this content view, almost the same thing as right here. All right. So basically, what we want to do is we want to talk about like what these actually mean, right? So we have three different stacks in Swift UI. So we have what we call a V stack, an H stack, and a Z stack. So we're going to be using these three stacks in our weather app. So for example, let's go back to this weather app, and you can see this is like the layout of this app. So we have like a title right here, which is where I am, and it's blurred out for obvious reasons. But we also have this, which is a title or text, as you can see here. Then we have an image, right? And we also have another text, right? And we have more text and images, and then we have a button. So there's three things that we're going to be using today. So just double slash for comments. So you can be using text, images, and buttons. All right. We're also going to be using a Z stack, and basically, for Z stacks, basically in all apps, you're going to be using a Z stack. So the Z stack in this case is our background. And what is a Z stack? So what does a Z stack mean? So Z stack is just anything on top. Anything inside the Z stack is on top of anything before it. Like what does that mean? So for example, here you can see we have a background, and that would be our Z stack, this background. You can see that, and it's like a gradient. So you can see how all the text, images, and everything is on top of this background. So it's like a Z stack, and then in the Z stack we have V stacks. So V stack is like a vertical stack. So everything is going down, right? So you can see we have everything is vertical, so everything's going down. So anything below it is down. And then we have some H stacks. H stacks are horizontal, right? So this, for example, is an H stack. You can see how it's going horizontal. So we actually have many different stacks in here. So our base design is we have a Z stack, and then we actually have a V stack, right? Because as I said, everything is like going vertical, which in most apps, right? V stack. And then we have a V stack, and then all of this is going to be inside our V stack. Okay. So we have this entire thing, which is a V stack, and then we can also have another V stack, which is just this what your location is, your image, and then the temperature, right? That's another V stack. And then outside of this, still inside this V stack, but not in the other V stack, we have this horizontal thing, right, with all the dates. So that would be an H stack, right? And then we'd also, at the bottom, we just have the change time of day. So this is not a part of this. This would be out here. So, sorry, yeah. And this would just be a part of this main VSAC. We need, yeah, one here, one here. And then this would just be a part of this main VSAC, which is just our button. Okay, so that's all we need. So yeah. All right. So one thing we need to know is we need to know that everything in Swift UI is like a view. So you can see we always have these views and views, right? So views are something that basically are really easy to override. They always kind of get almost like created and destroyed. So like for example, this text or this stack is like a view, right? This like a button is like a view. So basically, well, if the button is in the stack, so all these are views. So for example, uh, this is a content view, and we can have like we can actually make these different like uh these different, I guess, widgets into a view. So for example, we do this almost like if you have done any other programming, almost like object oriented programming, where we want to classify all of these different objects. So for example, in this, you see how when we change this time of the day, you see how kind of these change. Well, the reason why we can do this, even though it's all in the content view, is because we've actually made this entire thing, this entire H stack, into a view. So then we can actually reuse it and just say what we want to say. So then we can actually make our code really clean. So just keep that in mind, because we're going to be kind of like refactoring our code, so then we can use it almost like an object. All right. So I think that's it for like the basics of it. Now I can show you guys actually how to create an image, how to create text, and then also how to create a button and how they're used. So first we can just clear this, right? And one thing inside of this view, this is only the UI. So you can't add any like print statements, you can't add any variables inside this view. You can outside of the view. So for example, if I wanted to create a variable just by using the var keyword, we can use variable a is equal to, for example, 0, right? We can do that. And then inside of here, we can just create a text, and inside of here is just a text, right? So we can just add a, and then we can run this. No exact matches, and call it initializer. Oh, so it actually starts off as a string. So let's try to add a string in here. Hello? Okay. And now we can try to run this. And then you can see now it's succeeded. So now the preview is taking some time, but eventually it should. Oh, let's just pause. Let's just redo this. Sorry about that. Now you can see it's changed to our hello text. So the reason why that happened was because in Swift UI, all the variables, when you use a var keyword, it defaults to like a string. So when I entered this number here, it gave us this error. It cannot know exact matches and call to initializer. This because we have to actually say explicitly that this is an integer. Okay, so we can just keep this. Hello, and now let's actually add some stuff to this. Alright, so pretty much you just have this cheat sheet that we're going to just use when we're just styling this. So basically what we want to do is we just want to style our text, right? So this is text. I was just playing around with it a little bit earlier. And basically, let's actually style this. We can close this content view for now, just a little bit. Alright, so basically this is just some like a cheat sheet. I can put it down. And it'll just show us how to do this. So on the text, we just want to say dot font, and we just want to pass, like, for example, we have some base parameters that we can pass, like we can pass like a large title, for example. And what this is going to do is it's just going to make this text large. Make sure I have a dot there, and then we can just pull up our simulator, go to weather app. Now when we run this, you can see the title is a little bit larger. Just wait for it. All right, so now you can see it's like a little bit larger. But what we can also do is we can actually make it whatever size that we want. So we can go back here. Sorry, I have to close this. And we just have to say dot system. Right, I have to take this large title out. And then we can actually pass a size. Okay, so yes. And then let's say we want to say like 50, for example. So I'll put this down here too. So if like you run into any like errors when you're just writing the code, you can just look at this. I just want to make sure I have this up so I don't have to waste too much time. Just like if I get any bugs. Okay, so now I can just open up our simulator. You can see it. I don't know if it's run fully, but yeah, I think it has. So I think this is the size 50. Let's just try maybe like 100 just to make sure that it's running good. It looks pretty similar. Okay, yeah, so perfect. So you can see it has gotten bigger for the size. So we also can, I guess, add a like a font, like a real font. So if we want, we can just take out this system, and you can see we also have some documentation here if we'd like. You can see it's showing us how to use this. So we can add the size, just what I just said. And basically, we can actually just add a dot custom. And what this is going to do is we can still pass our size, right? So we have the same, let's say 100 size, but then also we can add things like a font. So we can maybe add, I guess, there you have a font here. So we can just copy and paste this over here. And that's just going to help us with our fonts. Now we can just run this. And you can see it actually has this really cool font. So we can do that. And yeah, so let's actually start creating this weather app. So we can actually just change our text right here. Let's change this to, I don't know, like where would we get the weather at? Like maybe like the headquarters of Apple or something. We can just add for the bases. Pretty sure, just and obviously this is going to change when we get our API, so it actually knows where we are. It's okay. So Cupertino. Okay. So now we can just put this in here, and then we can actually try to move this a little bit up. So how are we going to move it up? So there's things called spacers, and what these are going to do is, for example, here you can see if we pull up our simulator, it has all the space in this entire page, right? But what the space are doing is it's kind of taking up all the space that this guy doesn't have to use, and we can actually add a v stack, so we can start talking about our v stacks, and with these v stacks we can actually add a spacer. So now we can just say spacer, and now if we run this, oh, it failed. Content view was there? Oh, expected. Okay. Okay, just add these. All right, now run it. And I can see it's way up here. So you can see the spacer actually took the space. I think this is a little bit too big, so we can actually make it like 50, for example. Okay, so perfect. So it actually looks really nice. So now we can do is we can actually create the image. So for now, we're just going to create like a base layout, and then we're just going to add the API. So I'm just going to go over the API, put this code on GitHub too, so you guys can just like copy and paste it, because um, I'm like explaining what the code does. So you can see here we have this image. So what we can actually do is there's two things. So one, we can download an image, put it on our computer. Two, we can actually use what we call SF symbols. So I'm going to show you both ways right now. So let's just go to Google. All right. And we can actually do is we can actually just search up SF symbols. And these are just symbols that Apple has created to actually help us just easily get different icons that we need without actually having to download them and like use them and put them in our app. So if you just go to SF symbols, you can see there's over 4,400 symbols. So I can just actually open this up right here. And you can see like we have so many different symbols that we can use, right? And for this video, since we're making a weather app, we can just go to this weather page down here, no, up here, right? And we have all these icons that we can use, and these can also get multicolored. So if we actually go up here, we can sorry, that's not what we need, it's right here. We can actually like choose what we want, and if we do this, we can choose the color. So for example, let's say blue. Now all of these are going to change to blue. So we can go back to white. And if we go in this icon, unless we want to use, we can actually make this multicolored. Right, so now all of these are multicolored. So for example, we might want to use this cloud.sun.fill. And yeah, so we can use that. So how do you download this? You can just go to SF Symbols, and there should be a download button. I think you just can't see it here. Yeah, just click this download button. And you can download it so on your computer. So just say that I already have it, so I'm not going to do that. Yeah, so just easily just download on your computer. So now, if we want to use these SF symbols, we can. So we can just we can actually just create an image, right? And then in here is just the name of the SF symbols. But because we're using an SF symbol, we have to actually like say that we are. So we have to say system name, and that's going to automatically think that we're going to SF symbols. If not, like let's say you have your own image, you can actually just add it in these assets, and then you don't have to add the SF symbol. So or sorry, system name. So it'll automatically go to this assets page. Okay. So here for a system name, let's just add that sun dot, I think it's cloud.fill, right? Yeah, sun, so it's cloud.sun.fill. So, all right, and now we can just run this. Okay, and bam, so you can actually see the image. But it doesn't look like the multicolored one that we want. So what we can actually do is we have to actually say that we want this SF symbol. And to display this, basically I just wrote a little bit of code. And what this code is going to do, actually we can take that down for now. What's just going to do is first it's going to change it to being multicolored. It's also going to make the image like big. So it's going to be 180 by 180. And then also I created a background in a Z stack, which is just going to help us see the image a little bit better. So it's just a linear gradient, blue and white. So if we just run this, it may take some time, but it should look pretty good. Okay, perfect. So it actually looks great. So you can see we have this, and then we also have our image. The reason why it's not as, I guess, like the text isn't as up, is just because it's all in the VStack, and it kind of all just centers in the start. But as we start adding stuff, it should auto go up. So it should auto like I forget the word, almost like resize it and make it look like the project that we're trying to make. So the spacer will help us do that. And now we can actually just add the text. So remember, in your app, if you just want to open that up and see for reference again, we just have 3 different things in our first VStack, and then we'll create our H stack. I don't know, we should focus too much on that. But first we should focus on this because this is the actual one that's getting the API. But I will go through how to make the H stack. But you can see we have our 11 Celsius, so we just want to almost create the same text. So we can almost just copy this, just add it here. Just want to make it maybe like a little bit smaller, probably like a 30. And now we can just run this. Okay, perfect. So it looks great, but I think 30 was a little less. I think we should we should still make it 50. Just we should make this an actual degree so it look nicer. Let's say 90 gets I don't know the temperature there. Let's just say 90 for today, and then we can actually make the size actually even bigger. Um, yeah. So, oh, it's still text date, so we have to change this to 90. I don't know. Oh, I changed the font here. That was the font. So we have to change the actual text to 90. And forget what the command to get the circa thing was, but anyways, make it 90. Now we run this. It looks pretty good. So it doesn't look perfect, but it looks pretty good for what we're trying to make. And yeah, so that's like a basic design of how we're going to make this. If we want, we can actually make this probably like 100 size. I think that would fit a little bit better. And yeah, so that looks a lot better. All right, so at least we've learned how to use text and image. Now let's actually learn how to use a button. So we can just create our button. So we just want to type the button keyword. And there's a few ways we can make this. So one is in here, that's the name of the button. So we can just say like click me. And then inside some like brackets, curly braces, we can actually say what we want to do. So we can just say print I am clicked, right? And then we can just run this. Okay, so we have this button. When we click it, you can see it prints out I am clicked. Okay, perfect. So, obviously this doesn't look perfect, but at least we kind of have a good understanding of Z-stacks, V-stacks, spacers, um, I guess gradient to some extent, and then also how to create images, text, and buttons. So now once we style it a little bit better and add some spacers in our code, which I won't be typing out everything because we've understood the UI. So now we can just kind of like, I'm just going to go through all the code and also show you guys how to use the API. Um, but yeah, so at least now when you see the code, you can understand what's going on. If you want to change anything, you can do so. So let's actually jump into the actual project and I'll explain all the code there. Let's just open up this project. And this is the actual code. This is all on GitHub, so you can just download it from there. Let's go through this code. So let's first talk about our content view, and I'll explain this code. I guess we haven't talked about structure and how to take classes, so I'll explain how to do that as well. And yeah, so pretty much we just have the same basic designs. Let's just look at this for now. We can just make it bigger because we don't need the rest of the stuff. Okay, so we just have our background view. This is just the gradient. And then we have our VStack. We have the city text view, which is just what the city text is. And then we have the main weather, the actual weather. And in this, we have the image and we have the temperature. So remember that was a VStack, so we just have an image and the temperature. And you can see how since this is a specific VStack, this is actually probably going to push this to the top. And then we just have this H stack. So this is the horizontal stack, which just has different day views. I'll go into these specifically, but it just has each view, which just is the image in the day of the week, right? We just have multiple of those. That's our H stack, and then we just have our button. That's it. All it's doing is it just I'll explain this is night two. It's just toggling, which is just turning it. Is it night or is it not? And yeah, so that's literally the same structure that we talked about earlier. We just implemented. So let's talk about a little bit like the actual code of the UI. So first, let's go into our background view. So remember, it's taking just two different parameters, just the top and bottom. So the reason why we need this is when we go to night view, we're probably going to have like a different top and bottom than in our morning view. But anyways, it's still the same linear gradient. And yeah, we just pass the top and the bottom. So you can see here, all we're doing is we're just saying if it is night, we're going to make it black and blue. That's going to be the gradient. But if it, or sorry, that's, yeah, if it is night, that would be, so if it is night, the top is going to be black in the bottom. And if it's morning, it's going to be blue. And if it's in the bottom, if it is night, it's going to be gray. But if it's morning, it's going to be white. So that's kind of how that works. I'll explain the states later. Um, and one thing you can see here, it's just a struct. It's just a view. Like I said, everything is views. So what we want is we're basically just creating, you see this content view. It's almost the exact same thing. We just have our struct, and we just have this static var, which is our view, right? Or actually, sorry, that's the preview. Here we just have our struct, which is a view, and then we just have this body, which is the actual linear gradient. And up here is just the variables that we're passing in. It's almost just like a function. So anything on top is the variables that we have to pass in, and then here is the actual like UI, and we take those variables to use it. For this weather day view, remember it's a VStack, right? And it's just uh, actually no, this is the H stack. So um, we're not there yet. First, we're on our city text view, which is just the text that we just used. So it's just the text, and then we just have a font. We have a size, weight, to design, just a little bit more parameters. So this weight is just going to add a little bit like a boldness to it. And then we also have a foreground, which is just the actual color of the text, and we just add some padding onto this. Really simple stuff. We could even just use the same design as before. We also have a main weather, which is again is our image and our temperature. So you can see our image is almost the exact same that we were using, and our temperature is very similar too. We just have size 70. We also had a weight in a color. Okay, so you can see that this is a VStack, and in this VStack we can pass some parameters, which is the spacing between the other VStacks, right? Anything on top. And then we also go into our H stack, which is just an icon. And we have 5 of those, remember. We just have a text, we have an image, and we have a text. So you can see this is a V stack, right? So you can see this is an H stack, right? But it's an H stack full of different V stacks, because in our app, you can see that, you see how it's like going down this way. That's why that would be our text, image, and then also text. So that's where our weather day views coming in. And you'll get all this code on GitHub, so you guys can just look at it, look around this. I'm just trying to like explain you the overview and just show you that it's exact same what we work with. It's just a little bit different styling, and you can I'll give you some research to look into that too. Okay, so I said I'll talk about the states. So basically, a state is just, it's almost like a variable that you can use throughout the entire like project, so it doesn't change or get deleted. So as views get deleted and created, your states will, like, it's almost like a global variable, like a constant. So basically, in this state, it starts off as is night is false. So we're just saying, for example, in our background view, is night? Well, it starts off as false, so it's automatically going to go to blue and white because it's not night. But when you click this button, it toggles this is night, which is going to turn it the opposite because it's a Boolean data type, right? So it's going to turn it into true. So now it automatically deletes this view and then it rewrites it with our new state. So yeah, so that's almost our UI of our content. So perfect. So now let's actually go into the API. All right, so we're going to be using an API called Weather. Sorry, OpenWeather. Okay, and just go to openweathermap.com, and we just want to actually sign up for this. Just want to click um, sign in, right? Just sign up and sign in, um, and then just go to API keys and just get your API key. Now, in my GitHub repo, there's not going to be an API key, so the code won't work, because obviously you have to use your own API key, right? But instead of this, you just want to fill it with your API key where it says API key in our weather service, and then when you fill that in, your project will work. So now let's go through a little bit of using our API. So let's actually see what this API is. So if we just go to this website, right, and just pass in the values. So we can just pass in our API key, which we just got. Okay, so just copy that in, paste it in, and this account is free, so don't worry about that. Now we can just put a latitude and longitude, and these guys are using this. Our project is just using this library called core location, which is just going to get the location. So it's automatically going to get our location. It's going to pass it into the URL. So here you can see it's done all of this. It's got the location here, right? And then it's calling our make data request right here with the location coordinates. So that's where it's going to pass in to this function, the string. It's going to get that string, and because it's an API, it's going to return a JSON value, and then we're actually just going to parse this JSON value right here, and this is going to help us parse it. We're just going to parse it, and then we're just going to return it. So that's it. So we just return it as this weather service class, and then we can actually use it in this content view. So you can see we have our object view model, which is just a weather view model, right? So then we can say like view model. For example, here we're just getting their temperature, which is all the values in our JSON object, our icon name, right? Our city name. So yeah, so that's basically like how our API is going to work. It's just going to that URL. So first it's using the core location. It's getting the lat and longitude, and then it's just using those latitude and longitude. It's going to the URL. It's getting the JSON object, and it's just parsing it and passing it back into our control view. So yeah, that's it. All right, so let's pass a latitude and longitude. I don't know of 13, right? Lat and long, because we're using that earlier. So we can just copy this, paste it here. I don't know if I'm putting the correct line longitude. We can just see, we can enter, and you can see it actually gives us this the JSON object, right? So you can see if we go to temp, it's 0.09 Celsius. Let's see if this is right. Maybe I just entered the wrong coordinates. Weather right now. Okay, so that's definitely not correct. I think I just entered the wrong coordinates. Maybe I just have to switch this up. I'm not sure. Oh, okay. I guess I think I was right. Okay. So it says the temperature. It feels like. Oh, did it switch it? Okay. Anyways, so it says it feels like 0.0. I'm reading this right. Yeah, 0.09 Celsius. But I think it's gotten the wrong latitude longitude. I don't think it's right because look, it says the country is CN. Well, this would be in the United States, so I think that would be US. I think just as the wrong coordinates. But anyways, you can see the actual JSON object here, so you can see how it's going to return. So you know what I'm actually going to do is here I'm just going to print out the coordinates, so then we can actually look at it correctly. So. And it's going to print out where I am right now, the coordinates. So it's going to, this computer is probably going to say something like San Francisco. So it'll probably print the coordinates of that one. So here, right before we make the data request, let's just print this location. dot coordinates. All right, we can just run this. It's on iPhone 14 Pro. Just run that. Just look at this console here. Don't really worry about the simulator. We've already seen this on the phone. Probably gonna take a little bit longer than our other app because it's actually fetching the API. It's working right now. Okay, so it's gotten a latitude and longitude that we can actually use now. So let's go back here. Let's pass our latitude, and then we can pass our longitude. Okay, that's a lot better. So you can see we got our temperature. That's 10.04. It's San Francisco, right? And the country is the United States. So perfect. So we're right. So now if we actually go to the San Francisco weather right now, it is 52 degrees, and that's really close to the Cupertino ones, because yeah. So remember, this is still Celsius. Celsius. So if we want to also maybe check this even further, 10 Celsius to Fahrenheit, you can see it's around 50, right? So it's around 50. Okay, so perfect. So you can see the API works. We've tested it out. We kind of know a pretty good overview of the code with it, how the URL works. That's our content view. That's the main app. This is just the button that we've created. I just added some style to that. And yeah, so it's pretty much the same. This is just helping us when we're parsing, um, when we're parsing this the weather services, and for the city name, the temperature, the weather description, the icon name, so we can actually just use that in our object. And then we just have this function refresh, which is just going to like refresh it. So we just want to add this in our code, um, which is constantly just going to, when you see it, it's going to refresh, because the weather can't really stay the same, right? Because it wants to be real time. And yeah, so that's pretty much the weather app. This code will be on GitHub. I'll put it in the description down below. And you guys can test it out and use it on your phones. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys did, please make sure to hit a thumbs up on this video and subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions, you can put them down below. I know this is a really big video. And once again, the code is on GitHub. But anyways, once again, that's it for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Until next time.